Now, the most important thing to realize is that cancer is a family disease. It affects the entire family, not just the patient. You see, even though caregivers don't have cancer in their bodies, they suffer with the emotional, social, and spiritual aspects of the disease. So today we have a sit down with a father who's here at Gertrude's Hospital to bring his 4-year-old daughter for chemotherapy as we get a better understanding of that reality. Welcome to Unscripted with me, Grace Msalame. This is Unscripted. Thank you so much for staying tuned. Our guest today, Baba Zuri.
Yes.
Asante sana for coming on the show.
Thank you so much.
We followed you here today for a reason. We're about to find out why. Your story is quite something. I know there's a parent at home who needs to hear what it's like having a daughter who has cancer.
Sure.
So let's go back to the beginning.
Okay.
How is baby Zuri doing first?
First of all, she's well. She's responded very, very well to treatment. And all indicators are that she's going to pull through. Good. So for that, we're very grateful for. Good. So she's doing well.
She's doing well.
In fact, if you see her, except for the lack of hair, you wouldn't tell that she's got cancer.
Really?
She's still bubbly. She's back to her normal self.
So tell me, when did this start? When did you figure out as mom and dad something is off with baby? Yes.
Okay, so the diagnosis was in February, the first week of February.
Okay.
We were admitted this year. Yes, we were admitted January 31st here. But about 4 months prior to is when her body began changing, as well as her mood. Okay. So Zuri is very light skinned, but then she grew really, really pale. And at first we thought it's the shift from moving from Nairobi to Thika. We thought it's climate issues. And then she began losing weight. She lost her appetite. So she had the general symptoms of illness for about 4 months, which is lack of appetite, throwing up, being very, very pale. But then she began exhibiting very specific symptoms that are now linked to early onset of cancer.
So during that time in the 4 months when it was almost general?
General symptoms.
What did you do at that point?
Well, of course, we took her to hospital and they didn't do a very deep test as usual. So they just sort of looked at the general markers, which is the HB, the platelets, and so on and so forth. But then interpreting, they would tell us it's probably just low blood count, and they would ask us the normal questions. Has she begun school? So when we said yes, then they were like, okay, maybe that's why. Maybe she's not eating so well. Okay. Maybe she's picked up an infection or blood infection. So they gave us topical sort of medication, which is blood boosters, antibacterial pills, and so on and so forth. But the condition actually worsened. So it's only when she began now getting those very specific symptoms that we decided to do a further test on Zuri.
Now have to go back to hospital. How did she get
Actually,
worse?
the doctors there just told us that these results, it was at 11 p.m. at night. So they just told us these particular results, we'd like to wait for the doctor in the morning to give them to you.
That means they were not good.
That means, so we sort of suspected there's something they don't want to tell us. And so they really kept pushing, why don't you go to Gertrude's or Aga Khan or any of those big hospitals? And so, of course, we panicked a little bit, and then we ran to Gertrude's that same night. So you go from hoping it's something light to, and no one really has a good experience of being given those news because our doctors don't tend to go through counseling to how to relay bad news. It's always very factual, like, hey, by the way, your child has cancer. So that was not really our experience. Our experience was the doctor, even here at Gertrude's, wanted to sort of delay giving us the news until the following day. But every now and then in the conversation, now by this time Zuri and the mother have been admitted, so I'm in the front office trying to deal with the paperwork. But discussing with the doctor, he would accidentally slip, like as if he's sure that it's cancer. So he would tell us that we still need to confirm and do a bone marrow test. So it's not confirmed that it's cancer. It could be cancer or autoimmune disease. Which is
so they were sensitive with giving you the news?
Yes. But for me, I was given, they didn't really give me, I sort of gleaned it out. So that same night is when I dealt with my own heartbreak. In terms of, as a dad, you grow up knowing you can do anything for your child. But a cancer diagnosis takes that away from you in a second, in the most brutal manner. You wish you can take it for them. You wish it was you instead of her. There's a lot of anger because at 4 years old, what has she eaten or done to deserve this kind of disease? And being the fact that we are not really prepared for cancer, no one really wakes up and researches how we like
what to do when this
what
happens.
to do. So there's lots of confusion, lots of anger, lots of deep sadness. But it's difficult to really explain it. Like all you can do is just cry.
The children, the dad is a hero. Even for us as parents,
Sure.
we wish we could take away the pain in a minute.
Yes.
But also, how did that play on your relationship with mommy, with Mama Zuri?
First of all, it's important to note that however hard I would take it, it's not comparable to the pain that a mother feels. And that has always been my guiding principle. That no matter how sad I feel, just make sure that you remember that for the mother, it's extremely heartbreaking and gut-wrenching. So the dynamics generally begin by lots of denial, lots of confusion on both parts, lots of inadequacy in what to say to the other person.
To each other, right?
Yeah, and it's very difficult to even reach out to someone. And there's lots of, so your emotions really become raw.
Yeah.
So if you're angry, you're angry. If you're sad, if you're pissed off, you're pissed off. There's no more anesthesia. There's no more, your nerves are all out. They're all exposed. So there's lots of raw emotions. Like if there's ever a time when you have been guarded or you have been sort of holding back, cancer rips that apart. So it's really an issue of trying to understand each other as much as you're sort of dealing with this thing.
And at that point, you're not even hurting each other. It's just your response to what led
To
to
what's
this.
happening.
How do we fix it? Yes.
Exactly, because you want to fix it, so you're just reaching out in the, like in the dark, like look for anything to make sense of it all.
Yeah.
So before the genetic test comes back to tell you what exactly may have caused it, there's lots of groping in the dark. Is it your family? Is it mine? Who has this or whatever? So, and that's what cancer really does, because there's not much information about it. So we all tend to Google stuff and we all tend to ask people's experiences, and you get online doctors telling us it's probably the dad or the mother. So it's important at that particular phase to really structure your conversations and just limit outside influences. Yeah. Luckily with Gertrude, they do a very extensive genetic test that tells exactly what's with the chromosomes. So for Zuri, it's just an extra chromosome that she has that went rogue. We all have cancer cells, but sometimes you just unfortunately get a bad hit, and then all the factors just align for them to get cancerous. But it's all within us. It's just that she was unlucky. So it's no one's fault really. Even if you go back to the family tree,
it's not worth it.
It's not really worth it.
Journey.
No.
So which cancer is it? Did you mention?
So Zuri has leukemia, and her particular strain is called ALL. There are two of them. ALL is acute lymphoblastic leukemia, meaning it's in the lymph glands predominantly. It's not the more aggressive kind. The other one, which is AML, is a little bit more aggressive. And even for children, all leukemia is highly curable, which is people don't actually understand that.
Oh, good.
In adults, the prognosis
like you should
could
say
be,
that again. That's it's highly curable.
Yeah, it's highly curable.
And this is because?
This is because, first of all, the doctors have done a tremendous job of understanding how to treat it. And then because children are still growing, so their cells regenerate faster. In fact, as an adult, your prognosis may be less positive if you do get it as an adult, leukemia that is. As a child in the West, the cure rate is up to 98% in the West.
I see.
Kenya, we're struggling. It's 1 out of 10 children make it. So basically for my Zuri, 9 more didn't make it. However, it's not because of the treatment itself. There's a lot of surrounding factors to treating leukemia, which is basically, are you able to finish the course? Do you do proper home care? Do you
supporting
the supporting services? Yes. The factors that lead to us having a bad percentage of cure is not because of the medical bit of it. It's because of late detection, delaying before you actually go to do your test for the cancer, and not following that treatment plan with your doctor. But if all these parents are empowered to do, then our rate will go a bit higher. It's highly curable. Yeah.
We can get more into that on the next part
No
of
problems.
what that journey is like in the healthcare system. But as we wrap this part,
Sure.
I'm curious to know, I mean, she is 4 years old.
Yes, 4 years, 10 months. Yeah.
4 years, 10 months.
Yes, which is about to turn 5. Yeah.
Imagine. How do you explain what's happening to her? Does she know what's going on to her body? Have you had a conversation with her?
Well,
Does she understand?
not exactly. She doesn't understand. I mean, I think at that age, it's difficult to really explain the details. She knows there's something off because she's always in hospital,
Yeah.
always getting jabs, always
Medication every day?
medication every day. She sees her changes, her nails and her hair falling off. But maybe at the age of 7, because the other child who we sort of work together with, he understands. So it depends on the age of the child. You don't really need to burden yourself with understanding. Should I tell this child or not? If she's able to comprehend, then by all means. But if she's not, it's really kama haelewi, then there's
Does
no...
she ask you, Mom, Dad, I want to
No.
go play with my friends, or I want to, I miss school, like those?
So...
But that's not happened yet.
No, actually also because Zuri is an introvert. She really rarely...
So she loves her space.
She loves her space. So it's not really been an issue for her. She didn't love school that much in the beginning. So it's like a break for her.
No way.
Yeah, so I don't think she misses much, but she's really a homebody.
Okay, I can't wait to meet her though. I think it's necessary for us to just get a better understanding
Sure.
in what this experience is like. And we hardly hear from the caregivers,
Oh, yeah.
which is important. I believe you also need support. You know, we also need to know how to support and work with you. But on this part, we had started mentioning the chemo treatments. So we're here at Gertrude's.
Yeah.
She's about to go in for...
An intrathecal procedure. It's a short 15 minutes procedure.
How often, how many, so how does it work? Is it
Okay.
how many years, how are we doing? Yeah, tell us, update us.
So leukemia, the doctors like to give it a very aggressive sort of treatment plan, which is they do about 7 to 9 months of really intense chemotherapy
Got it.
in 5 phases, which is difficult to name all of them, but just 5 phases which you know should take between 7 to 9 months.
I see.
So the 7 to 9 months is to give an allowance for sometimes the body takes it too hard and it's postponed.
Okay.
However,
Depending on how she
depending on
responds
how
to
she
the
responds to the treatment, yes, and then based on how her body also adapts to the side effects of the chemo.
Okay.
So within
So now you're in what month?
actually we're done with the initial phase, that's 7 to 9 months.
Okay.
So we're in a phase called maintenance,
Got it.
which is basically that they've seen that the child is in remission, which means that she's by all accounts cured of cancer, but they can't declare it until they observe for about 2 years. So the treatment goes on, but it's tapered off a little bit. So it's reduced in intensity.
I see.
The child is at home, she has her oral treatments.
Okay.
So what we've come for today is one of an injection into the spine that happens once in 3 months.
Once in 3 months.
So that is much less intense. So now we're at that maintenance phase, which means she's in remission,
Good.
which means they
Thank
can't
God.
find the cancer cells anymore.
So you're
It
just
means
making sure.
Making sure that it doesn't relapse, because a relapse is really, really, really bad news, because it means that the cancer cells have now adapted to the medication.
Yikes.
And if you relapse, your chances of survival have really reduced drastically, which is why it's critical not to put your foot off the pedal.
Just
So
yet.
make sure you give her the right dosage at the right time. Keep following the doctor's strict instructions. Give her the proper home care. Keep monitoring for fevers and mouth sores, because a mouth sore tells you what's within the belly.
I see.
And it's really, really bad news. We had that once, and we were in hospital for like a week,
I know.
just because of a very small infection. We were here for 6 days, pretty much.
Yikes.
Sure.
Not long ago, we saw a member of parliament say how the issue is in Kenya, in terms of the healthcare system, we need more doctors who are specific to certain cancers, and that's why we're losing many patients. But what has been your experience with the healthcare system? Do you feel we're doing better, or we have a longer way to go? What's from your experience?
From my experience, and from what I've gleaned over, because I discuss a lot with my doctor,
Good.
peripherally, about the treatment as well as what more can I do.
Yeah.
And so I'm now into advocacy of sorts. So I really try to pick out information about how the rest of the world is doing vis-a-vis what we are doing.
Good.
Now, we are struggling in terms of the percentage of kids surviving cancer, but we need to understand that it's cancer, leukemia in kids is highly curable.
Okay.
In the West, countries like the US and Europe, the cure rate is from 98% to 99% in some instances.
I see.
Kenya, we're struggling. We're about
So where are we struggling?
So why we're struggling is, first of all, it's not cheap. So most times the parents will start the treatment and at some point not be able to finish it.
Finish it, yeah.
And that's a problem. The other thing is that we have very few, so we have got pediatricians and oncologists, but we have got very few pediatric oncologists that combine
So
the knowledge.
specialists.
It's a very highly specialist
Yeah.
field, which means you have to prepare the doses for children. And those are few and far in between.
That's
in
why we
this
have
particular
many
country.
who prefer to seek medical cover abroad or, you know, assistance.
Yeah, which we're trying to sort of change,
trying to
that,
change that.
because we have very competent doctors, number one.
We do.
Dr. Karimi is stellar. She's changing how this thing is being approached. And she's the youngest of the doctors. So she's recently graduated.
Oh, wow.
So she has a lot of new research.
Good.
And she's a resident doctor here at Gertrude's.
Got it.
And so she gives you the roadmap and tells you what to expect.
Okay.
And she's a really good human being, which I need to stress is very key in terms of how you relate with your doctor.
That's true.
Now, she can be everywhere.
Yeah.
So the majority of the country where we get the numbers from don't have the chance to speak to Dr. Karimi.
Yeah.
She may try and do advocacy, but she can't get Kenyatta Hospital because
Yeah.
she's tied in here.
Of course.
The other one is tied in at Aga Khan. So if for the chances to be high,
We need more Dr. Karimis.
more Dr. Karimis.
Yeah.
We should just clone her. But
We need
then
more
again,
specialists,
yes,
yeah.
and then again, the other factors surrounding treatment of cancer. The medical part is a minute part of it.
Yeah, tell me the rest.
I would dare to say that because the doctor can give you all the prescriptions, can give you all the roadmaps, but then they don't want you here all the time.
Of course.
Actually, as soon as you're stable, for leukemia patients, they want you to go back home. So, because your immunity is nil.
Got it.
They want you to be in hospital where you can catch an infection, and they want the child to be in a home environment.
So it's a home care treatment that is
What
very...
you do with that child at home is what actually cures that baby, because she needs all her fruits. We do about 10 varieties of fruits a day. So 5 in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, as well as other herbs like wheatgrass, kiwi, strawberry. You put them in and they really boost the platelets,
They mean, okay.
because that's what's missing
Got it.
in leukemia. So the home care is critical, and
And it's
mostly
not cheap.
No.
Yeah.
No, fruits, now I can tell you.
Kiwis and strawberries on a...
But I can tell you the holes now. Now we know the shimos.
You know where to get them.
At 60 bob, 70 bob.
I see.
So we began buying them at 100 bob, but then you have to sort of research
I
and
see.
find out.
I see.
But then critical is that the mother spends so much time with the child, have to monitor her temperature. And the first days, this is a 24-hour cycle. Every 2 hours, go check at night. So there's no really sleeping.
It's non-stop.
Non-stop.
So both of you, or at least her, she can work.
No, for a year or two, first of
Yeah.
all, the mother forget, and if she's not a single mother, if the dad is there,
Exactly.
and he didn't bail out, because that's a whole other phenomenon.
That happens.
Even the dad, because no employer really would give you 3-4 days off every single week
Yeah.
to take your child to daycare. Plus, there's a whole mental presence. You're at work, but
You're not
very
present.
edgy. You're not really present. So the mom, for sure, economically forget. Even mentally, even the father has to be there 24 hours to monitor. A single degree raise in temperature is cause for concern. Run to hospital.
Yikes.
A single mouth sore popping up.
Run
So
to
mouth
hospital.
care is critical with leukemia. Mouth care,
I see.
meaning oral hygiene, meaning not giving her things like crisps or things that might bruise her.
I see.
So
So how's that been like for both of you?
women are superstars. Women are superhuman. I can tell you for free, I wouldn't manage what Mama Zuri does. Because it's not easy for moms especially, because they are present. They're the ones who wake up at night to go check on the baby. We've got our own sort of challenge, which is the financial bit of it.
Yeah.
Or just basically holding the family together,
Yeah.
coordinating between X, Y, Z, coming to hospital, paying the bills, and so on and so forth. But that doesn't compare
To what
to
mommy
what mommy
goes
goes through.
faces.
Yeah, and so it's critical that moms need to understand that it's doable, and they do have the capacity to do it. I've seen it.
How do you support to people at home who may have a family member, you know, who is has cancer and they want to support the caregivers around her? How best do you support them? And what can the caregiver do for herself to be in a better place? And for you as daddy, yes, you've said it's hard on mom, but I'm sure even for dad there are moments where it's difficult. So for you, what was your lowest moment?
So there is one time when we discovered a pocket of abscess, which is basically pus, like what you have when you have a boil. She's got a portable catheter right over here, which is where we administer the really heavy drugs. So it's under the skin.
So it's there throughout?
Throughout.
Okay.
In fact, it's what we have to monitor until the time she's done.
Got it.
Then we can remove it. So it's surgically placed in.
I see.
And she got an infection inside it. And that particular time, we didn't pick it up for a while. She was always in pain, and the skin color changed a little bit.
But
And the first time we opened it up, we didn't say anything. But then this one time, when I just a routine cleaning with a nurse, and pus just shot out. And the nurse, of course, panicked and didn't have time to calm down and say, let's put anesthesia. So we basically squeezed about 70 mLs of pus out of a young girl.
Who's wide awake, seeing what's happening.
Wide awake, no anesthesia, and I'm supposed to hold her still. I think it was the first time that I cried when I'm next to her. Because the pain was, I could really feel it. And she screamed until her voice disappeared, and all she could say is, just help me, Daddy. And I have to still hold her still for the nurse to clean it up. And so she's had trauma ever since. So even now, when she's going to do her small procedure, she sees a needle and she panics. So she was okay before then. But then
from that experience,
that was easily the lowest moment of this journey. It's been a smooth one, except that particular part, which is why, again, I repeat, it's the taking care of sites that actually, because an infection can cause a relapse.
I see.
You see, cancer eliminates all immunity.
Yes.
So even a small flu can get you, can really get you.
Throw you off from the...
No,
Take you back.
you.
Finish you.
Finish, yeah, because you have no immune system whatsoever. What was the lowest time? As to your earlier question about home care?
Yeah, for the caregivers.
For the caregivers.
Yeah, what do you need and what helps you during these moments?
Family. Family, your mom, your dad, the grandparents, the uncles, the siblings. Families tend to rally together, and they can relieve you sometimes. If you're in hospital, you can come and tell Mama, you know what, go get your hair done, I'll watch over Zuri, which is not easily done.
It's not. Even for her, it's hard to leave, isn't it?
It took months to even step out of the room.
Yikes.
Yeah, which is a whole other problem, because if you don't take care of yourself, then a lot of emotional backlog
You feel
comes in.
guilty.
Feel guilty. Yeah, there's a lot of guilt. So what people support home caregivers with, a lot of understanding, cooperation. If the mother says no visitors, just understand, don't insist, don't push.
Okay.
They're always in need of money, always. But luckily it's that the family understands, so they'll send money for fruits, money for fuel, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
So that's the best way to actually support the caregivers.
Support the caregiver.
Understanding, support wherever you can, and emotional availability.
Got it.
Yeah. If they want to cry it out, let them cry
Let
it
them
out.
cry.
If they want to yell out in anger, let them do it. Don't ever criticize. Don't ask the hard questions. Where did it come from? Is it from you, from the husband?
Just let them be. Allow a safe space.
Just understand that they're going through something which even they can't express. So the best you can do, just be there for them.
Just be.
Yeah.
Now, I believe we need to take you to baby Zuri's therapy session.
Yeah, I think by now she should be almost done with
done.
the intrathecal injection. So she should be recovering.
So what's that to people at home? What needs to happen before the therapy begins, the chemo?
So we have to put her under anesthesia.
Okay.
And then she gets an injection at the spine, at the base of her spine. So that's what is called intrathecal. It's
Just
one
to
of the
see
ways that you administer chemotherapy.
Got it.
So there's intravenous, there's oral, intravenous meaning on drip.
Got it.
Then there's the oral, which is swallowing, and then there's the intrathecal one, which is she's doing today.
Okay.
So by now she should be about wrapping up.
Okay. And ready to
sort of start recovering from the drowsiness, and then once it's all done, then now she can be able to eat something, because she's been starved since yesterday.
She's hungry.
She must be starving.
Yeah.
Yeah, she must be starving. Yeah.
So you see all this information you're giving me, which is so important. I'm sure it's helping someone at home. You're actually starting an initiative if you haven't yet already. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's more like a movement that we're trying to do with the cancer parents.
Okay.
We're trying to get as much info as possible out there about cancer, about childhood cancer specifically, about how to identify it, what early signs to look out for. We want to encourage parents to not be afraid of taking their kids for screening, for being checked. we basically want to demystify the whole childhood cancer thing.
Okay.
More like child cancer awareness, especially in the month of September.
Okay.
That's what we're trying to do. So the initiative really is to try to get as much info as possible out there.
Okay.
So we went for the month of September to try and do a cancer drive of sorts, where we simply get parents to come and listen to children who are fighting cancer, who are winning especially, and hear their stories.
Give a story of hope.
Give a story of hope, yes.
Yeah.
And then we also want parents to share, to learn from each other in terms of, because we've got a network of parents who are facing the same thing.
Yeah.
So we need to exchange information. How best do you deal with these side effects? How did you do your financial plan?
Exactly.
What information is out there? Because the more armed you are with information,
Knowledge
the
is
less
power.
confused you are. Yeah, like when you have a roadmap, it becomes a less daunting sort of challenge to tackle. Information is power, as you've rightly said.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
And even for you, I mean, you mentioned you have a support group of fellow moms and dads who have
Yes.
children, you know, in this similar situation.
Exactly, yeah.
And it goes a long way, doesn't it?
It does. In fact, no amount of counseling can really match that particular hope that you get from seeing another child who's gone through the same illness, same possible doctor, same treatment, same hospital, and they are a step or two ahead,
Got it.
or even completely healed.
Yeah.
Like that really changed how we viewed this particular challenge in terms of it's doable. That's my support group really. It's similar parents going through leukemia, sharing information, sharing tidbits, sharing some bit of knowledge here and there, and just being there for each other because we understand what the other person is going through.
Got it.
So I know what a fellow dad fighting leukemia feels. I know, I completely understand what they're going through. And when I'm able to, I give them guidance, like do A, B, C, because that was done for me as well. So I'm simply paying it forward.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
Tell me about baby Zuri. What is she like? You know, what makes her happy? Character? She like daddy, like mommy?
No, she's the opposite of me. I'm all over the place. But
Are you?
Zuri is an introvert,
Yeah.
but she loves art. She's still a really, really good artist. At her age, she's able to capture colors in a way that
I need to see her work.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I really want to push for her to keep doing. Hopefully she'll use it for something grander than this, yes. She's a quiet girl, very insightful, very considerate. Sometimes when she cries in public, when there's so many people, she comes back and says, sorry, I'm sorry I cried. Like she's that, like, especially in hospital,
Baby.
she feels bad that she's in fear. So she's very self-aware as a person. Very feisty.
Is she?
Yeah, very feisty. In her quiet nature, she's very, very feisty. Okay. She's my first one. She has a sister called Taji, who...
You told me she's crazy about her big sister.
Oh, Taji loves Zuri way too much. She's obsessed with her. Zuri, of course, being the first one, she was sort of... There was a whole usurping thing, so she didn't like her sister so much.
Really?
So she pretends not to love her, but she
They love
does.
each other,
They love
of
each other.
course.
Yeah. Well, that's how she is. And she's tough.
She's
Zuri is
tough.
very, very tough. I mean, we can't fathom what it feels like to come day after day. Just, you know how you hate injections?
Yeah.
Now imagine for a
having to go
child,
through
all day,
It's a
every
fight
day.
with my kids when they need to do a blood test. They're like,
Imagine, now
Yeah.
imagine going through this regular day in, day out. So she's a fighter.
she is.
She's a fighter. She's a strong girl. Yeah.
There's something you said that was so powerful, how you feel like her going through this at such a young age is a bigger purpose to it.
I mean, to be honest, Grace, that's the only way that you can sort of make sense of it all. Like, Zuri and I, she may be my daughter, but her DNA is different. You don't go through this and be a normal person. You must be called for a higher purpose. I mean, I will never really match the level of fight that she has. So sometimes I feel like maybe she's destined to, I don't know, grow old and decide, you know what, let me help other children fight this. Let me find a cure for this.
Yeah.
And selfishly, I want to sort of incept her into it.
Yeah?
Like tell her, you know what, baby, you went through this so you can understand the pain of it all. Maybe you've been called to actually, if not find the cure, then help other children to fight it just as you have. She's different. I mean, all cancer kids are different. The level of responsibility that is given unto them to fight is of a level we can't possibly fathom, even as their parents.
Yeah.
We can never really understand it. Like, why would it happen unless it's for a grander calling than what we perceive? At 4 years old, There's no karma that is trying to get to her.
No such thing.
There's none. She's an innocent little angel. Like, what has she done? And that's part of the anger that we have as parents. Like, we wish it was us and not our daughters. Yeah, but that's the one thing we can ever really do. Accept and, try to make sense of it all by giving yourself reasons why you think it happened.
So if there was like one wish or prayer you had for her, that would be it. From this experience, she would birth something
Bigger,
big,
and even for us as parents, is what we really try to encourage ourselves. That we need to galvanize and help the government understand that you can make this road easier for the children.
You can.
Listen to us as parents. We can tell you where you're going right, where you're going wrong. We will tell you that NHF is doing a very good job. We'll also tell you, must we tax these chemotherapy drugs? Why don't you listen to us?
Good point. I hope you're listening.
Yeah, must we really pay, if we can zero rate computer items, fertilizer, condoms, and other small things which really are luxury items and zero rate them.
Why not this?
Why not chemotherapy? We want to tell the government, listen, Zuri is okay, Ron is fine, it's doable. We did ABC. And it's doable.
It's doable.
And what we're remaining to help another child who doesn't have what we may have, which is a good support system, social media to help us to raise the funds. This is what you can do to ease the burden of other unfortunate children. For every one person that gets healed of leukemia, 9 perish. So my Zuri has lost 9 other.
And that doesn't have to be the case.
It doesn't have to be the case.
So I hope they're listening and these changes can be implemented
slowly but slowly.
Now. That Zuri may see it happening, In
her lifetime?
In her lifetime.
I'm sure it'll make it okay even for her to understand why she went through it.
Exactly.
That she was called for a bigger purpose. And to me, Grace, if that end goal is we cheapen chemotherapy drugs, I'll sleep better. I'm okay with it. It will make sense of all the pain that I've felt for my child. It will make it a little bit worthwhile. If it just gets the government to not make decisions based on bureaucracy or bureaucrats or technocrats, but the people who actually
Let's
matter.
be empathetic, go to the ground and see the people who need this treatment.
And we're really fighting. People are fighting. We wake up in the morning, we leave our jobs, we stop being employed, the whole world stops and you focus on this one child to get them to be okay. We're doing our part. And here's how you've helped us so far, but this is what we need to do. So we as parents, we try not to be emotive about it. We just hope whoever is listening is able to help us to speak bureaucrat. Like, how can they help us to craft this message in a way that the government listens and understands and considers? Let's make a case for them. Let's tell them, you know what, if you can't zero rate all cancer drugs, let's start with kids. I mean, for children, help us to...
Let's talk to the children.
Let's do a sample. Is it doable? Are you losing that much money when you're not charging taxes? That's
Thank
Zuri.
you. That's Zuri.
Yeah.
You see, child knows.
Rather,
father
that's her
knows
cry.
Child's cry.
I think she's probably woken up.
Okay.
I think
we need to let you go.
She's a bit woozy by now.
Okay.
And maybe she's being forced to drink water.
Okay.
What normally happens when you come out, if the sedation is not fully worn out, you have to be given a drug to make you not throw up.
I see. So
I
the
think
water...
she's fighting, So that cry, I know that cry was for her fighting throwing up.
Wow.
You know how you know specific cries?
Yes, I'm very aware.
That's for her fighting to throw up.
I understand.
So I think, but that's a good sign. It means that the treatment went well.
Oh, good.
It's successful, so we're done.
I love that. The fact that cry is a good sign.
It's a good sign.
Okay.
Yeah. It means that the drugs are okay. That she's fighting back again, so she's strong enough.
Okay, good.
So this is the last shot until about 3 months from now.
Good. So now it's time to go home.
Now it's time to rush home because she's been
eat.
starved since yesterday. So we just need to go wrap up and clear, pay the tax man.
Pay the tax man. Thank you so much.
No, thank you too.
All our best and prayers to the whole family. And like you
so
said,
much.
what you said, I hope the government and people at home are listening to what needs to be done going forward.
Yeah.
And we're with you and supporting you in every way that we can.
Thank you for giving us audience. It's sometimes just telling our story. If it helps one child.
Exactly.
Unscripted
is all about, as you know, breaking the culture of silence. Sure. You've heard Baba Zuri's story. If you have a story at home you'd love us to hear and just engage, please do reach us. Our contact lines are below. Till next week, do have a good week. God bless and see you soon. Bye.